Hello, everybody, and welcome to Season 4, Episode 6 of A Conversation with Cometan. Today, I have a returning guest. It is Adriano Autino, and he is here to speak with me about a whole range of topics. We're going to be talking about space philosophy, astronism a little bit, salvation in outer space, and the differences in our use of terminology. So looking at space expansion, space exploration, space settlement, and pretty much everything to do with space, outer space, and religion and philosophy. And of course, a little bit as well about astronality as well. I try and get in there during this conversation. So I hope you enjoy it, guys. And I'll see you in the next video. First of all, thank you for joining me again. It's good to see you because...
Thanks for inviting me. Thanks for inviting me again. Here we go. We had a conversation maybe a couple of years ago or something like that. Yeah?
Yes. Okay. And I'm on my fourth season now, so I'm sort of gone a bit further with this, and I think it can be helpful to talk to different people about these topics of space exploration, philosophy, etc. And today, I suppose it's a bit of a catch-up on what you've been doing since we last spoke, maybe some new ideas that you've maybe developed since we last spoke, perhaps. And also, I've got a few topics that we can sort of throw around and kind of think about that might be of mutual interest. So I hope that sounds good.
Many things, yes, many things happened during the last 2 years. We had a World Congress in 2021 where we discussed civilian space development and the conditions and the political focus before 2030 to something that should be made in order to allow the beginning of this such a process of the expansion of civilization into space. And so this, I think this is the main important achievement from the analysis point of view and from the indications of a strategy and the need of a strategy and so on. And yes, I developed I gave a lecture at the International Space University in January this year, where the main point, yes, it was a lecture on space philosophy, basically.
Yes.
And main point was the value of human patrimony. Right. Because, yes, we need to go to space because we are humanists. If we are not humanists, we don't need space. Because yes. Yes, if we are not humanists, we can accept some billion people to die, simply. Yes. Mm. And we can also accept that our civilization will die, because I think that if billion people will die, the civilization will die too, because it will be such a big cultural regression that it cannot be tolerated in any way. Therefore, yeah. So I think the most important point is the value of human patrimony. That is the, let me say, the fuel of our philosophy. Without that, we don't have any space philosophy, basically. And yes. So I think we also discussed about the change of paradigm that we are witnessing from the concept of space exploration to the space settlement and the expansion into space. That's quite a different way of thinking and of doing. And yes, we also are discussing about utopias.
Right. Yes. Yes, interesting.
Yeah, we started, the Space Renaissance Academy started to work. We have several committees, and we have a Space Renaissance Ambassador training course.
Brilliant.
The first lecture that we are developing is exactly on the concept of utopias.
Wow, brilliant.
Utopias of the past and a utopia for the future. That will not be a utopia, it will be an utopia.
Right.
Yes, utopia means a place that doesn't exist, and it is also accepted that it cannot exist. A utopia is, by definition, something that is too perfect that cannot exist.
Yes.
So maybe we are talking about an utopia, that it is a beautiful place that can exist.
Yes. Yes. And
if proper decisions will be taken. So,
yeah.
Yes, there is a discussion about this concept, and we also had a great achievement. Dr. Mary-Louise Heuser is a German philosopher, and she's a professor. She teaches in several universities about space philosophy. Yes, she is the author of several original concepts, and I think the one of the most important is transterrestrialism, the concept of transterrestrialism.
Mm-hmm.
Transterrestrialism, of course, originated from the same concept on Earth's surface.
Yes.
That means when a country establish a space around their boundaries,
Yes.
to be well, okay, in the past it was invaded, and even in the present, by the way. Yeah. However, the concept of trans means that you are expanding, but you are not leaving your own country. So you are widening your view, etc. So if this is done in space, that is perfectly legitimate, because there is nobody outside that we can go and invade and stole their ground, etc. So okay, but however, yeah, I think she is working on that concept, and she is developing it, and so we will learn something new and important about that. So there are many things that we can discuss. I don't know if you want. We can start with the human patrimony, maybe.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I do have a few questions actually, just based on what you've just said. I think one of the first questions is because you're at the forefront of really space philosophy and engaging with people of all ages, I suppose, with these ideas about outer space and sort of looking at outer space from a philosophical point of view. What concepts do you think have resonated most with the people that you've spoken to? Because, some concepts might not sort of grab the attention of people as much as others. So which concepts do you think it's the concept of, like you were mentioning earlier, about human extinction, essentially? Is that something that kind of picks people's attention up? Does that make people think, wow, we really need to sort of be thinking about space philosophy more attention needs? Or is there another concept that you found that people tend to gravitate towards, if you know what I mean?
Yes. Well, yeah, there are several what I call false metaphysics that prevent people to see some simple truths. And yeah, I think that maybe the main currently the main of this false concept, it concerns a pre-Copernican view that Earth is the planet.
Yes.
So if we say that Earth is the planet, it means that is the only planet.
Yes.
What exists outside are not planets.
Yes.
Yes, something different. So this concept is very false, and in my opinion, it should be discussed and debunked
Yes.
in a systematic way. because okay, even in this case, there's nothing new, because Giordano Bruno in the in 15th century said that Earth is not different from the rest of the solar system and from the rest of the universe. Earth is a planet, not the planet, but one planet, in the middle of a lot of other worlds and satellites and moons and celestial bodies.
Yeah.
And he was so advanced on his time. Let me say, advanced is even not a proper term to define it, because he made, Giordano Bruno, he wrote about space travel.
Yes.
Yes, he made pictures about traveling from Earth to the moon and beyond.
Brilliant. Yes.
It's incredible if you think that it was before the scientific revolution, no, at the dawn of Galileo and everything. So so it is something that it should be now well acknowledged and entered in our DNA, but it is not so. So we still think that Earth is the only place where we can live.
Yes.
Because it's quite different, and outside we don't know what it is, and we don't want to know it. This is the worst thing.
Yes.
That even many people don't have the curiosity to know what is outside, and we know that the curiosity is the la molla, no, the spring that moves. So so we can only hope that the young people will have this curiosity, so the story can go ahead, the history can go ahead. But however, so I think this is one of the main points that we have to discuss everywhere with everybody. That Earth is in space. Earth is in space. It's not outside space. Inside. And therefore, we can go there. We have the technology. We can go there. We can live there. We have to build our world, of course, because there is not a terrestrial environment outside Earth. That's true.
Yeah.
So to bring the nature of this of Earth outside and to reproduce Earth. To help Gaia to reproduce herself, just to use a metaphor, no? The Gaia, the living planet. I think in some way we should link to some of the environmentalist concepts.
Yeah.
Seeing in the right perspective.
Yes.
Because I think we the space advocates are the best environmentalists, because going outside we will also relieve Earth from the burden of our development.
Yes, of course.
Another thing that should be explained, and to make people understand that yes, it is risky, but is our duty, is an obligation. We have to go for many reasons.
It's really curious about that idea of duty, I suppose, isn't it? That sort of that obligation to explore, but also, as part of the human I don't know, character is to explore. I mean, we've explored this planet from not knowing very much about the furthest reaches of this world, and we've kind of covered, not every continent. We're not on Antarctica that much, but we're on every other continent. So we've explored every inch of this planet, and maybe there are still things to explore on this planet, but it's part of our DNA in a way to sort of explore, to understand the world around us and above us as well. So it makes sense. I think also, I've noticed this recently, or I've been thinking about this, where I think there's an issue with education as well. I don't think that space exploration is talked about enough in education, especially not in the UK here, or it may be the same where you are, but I don't know, these are the jobs of the future, but children aren't being taught about the possibilities of space civilization, space exploration enough, in my opinion. So I'm someone who wants to advocate for more education on space exploration specifically, not just the planets and the sort of astronomy, which is a separate topic, the actual space exploration part, because that's what we need. We need engineers, we need also thinkers, you know, who are going to think of ideas. How are we going to get that if the education systems that we have aren't sufficient in exploring or dedicating time to space exploration? It's just not in. I mean, do you know any education systems that have really put more resources into this? You know, I think
you are touching a very, very critical point.
Yeah.
Education systems are not equipped for the future.
No.
They try to teach the history of the past, and even not in the right way, because they always put the emphasis on the wars, on the conquests, they tell to the young people the history of hate, no.
Yes.
So we should have an education system that will teach to the young people the history of the scientists, of the philosophers, of the people who dedicated their life to the progress of civilization.
Yeah.
That should have at least the same importance that the emperors, the conquerors, and all that kind of thing. Because, yeah, of course, that was important too, because they built the nations, you know, they built the big communities and so on. So, okay, they do it by violence, and this is diseducative at all. So it should be a critical teaching, showing how our ancestors were more primitive, no, because they were only believing in violence as a mean, no, to rule and to make a nation and so on. So we should have an education system that tell the history of love, the history of people that worked for the benefit of humanity.
Yes.
And about space, for sure, we would need this kind of education. Talking about the solar system, talking about the galaxies, talking about the outer space, and exactly giving that vision that it is an homogeneous environment.
Yes.
It's not something different.
Yeah.
No, it's an homogeneous environment where we have the right, humans have the right to move around.
Yes. Yes.
And to settle and to create new communities and to expand and to work, etc., etc. So this is fundamental. So yes, I hope very much that big organization like the International Astronautical Federation, for instance, that we had since a couple of years, we are working very much more with IAF. We participated to the Congress in Dubai in 2021 and now in Paris in September this year. And we saw that it is really a big organization. It's connected with governments. Some ministers of the French government were there talking in Paris at the plenary assembly. And so why should not such a big organization use its own knowledge that it has, the recognition, no, that this organization has, to start talking to the people directly? Yes. So why don't we see representatives of IAF in Europe, but of NSS in the States, no, to talk in television, in normal television, in the broadcasts, in the news heads, and so on. Yeah. See, communicating space, not any revolutionary thing, just to say that, look, the space is growing, the space economy is now leading the global economy. Because if it was not for the space economy, the global economy would be a hole at this moment.
Definitely, yes.
The new space economy is the only leading segment, and it's going to be 1 trillion worth in few years. So we are already half a trillion.
Yes,
the global figure. So all of these things should be communicated.
Yes.
So we have a problem of education in the schools, and we have a problem of communication in the large audience.
Yes.
2 very important problems that someone should take care and not only a small association like the Space Renaissance is, because we are still a very small entity. However, we are growing too slowly, but then we try to do our best also to tell others that are bigger than us what they should do.
Yes, brilliant. No, it's great.
We're trying to do that.
It's brilliant. No,
I don't know if they will hate us, maybe.
No, the work you do is really important, and you know, in combination with everyone else that's in this field specifically, it's all adding to, or hopefully progressing us towards this future. I think one of the main things, or one of the most important things there, was when you use that word of vision, you know, having that idea of the future. You've got to instill that in people. That's one of the things I want to do with the work the work I focus on, with Astronism, which I'm sure you remember we spoke about. And we wrote, I wrote something for your website, I think a couple of years ago about that. That's the work that I continue with. I try and sort of create a philosophy around space exploration and try and present this vision of what space exploration could be, what it could bring humanity. I think we need that kind of inspiration for people, especially young people. It's really important. And also as well, I think we need more recognition for space philosophy as a distinct branch of philosophy. We've still not got that yet for some reason. I know it will take a long time. Philosophy doesn't move quickly. It's an institution that's existed for thousands of years. So the philosophers will take a long time to maybe recognize space philosophy as a distinct branch of philosophy. But I think that's something that's needed to acknowledge these ideas that you and I and others are speaking about, like the idea that going into outer space is our duty, our obligation. That is a philosophical belief. It's a philosophical idea that is at the basis of what we're talking about. It's at the basis of space exploration. We need to justify that, though. That this is the work I'm trying to do, and I know you are as well. You know, it's trying to justify. Well, for someone who isn't into space philosophy like we are, or space exploration, they may question, well, why? Why is that our obligation? Why is that our duty? And it's the role of space philosophers to justify that, to explain why. And we do that through space philosophy, don't we? So we need more recognition, I think, for space philosophy, and how we go about that, I'm not quite sure yet. But maybe in universities, maybe that's where it comes. Maybe we need more dedication from the universities, more funding in that way. But I think that's something else that we need. Do you agree with that idea?
Yeah, of course. Yes, the space philosophy should be better communicated to the people, especially because, this is another point to be debunked, that philosophy is something old. No, you know.
Right. Okay.
when you talk about philosophy, people think about the past.
Yes.
Greek, the ancient philosophers, and the Renaissance philosophers, and so on. But maybe we are okay. We are also talking about that philosophy because we understood that Giordano Bruno and the Renaissance philosophers said important concepts. But even before Plato,
Yes.
in the ancient Greek, Plato said very important things about not about space, but about the beauty, the science, the need to consider the things in another way, not only the Aristotelian way, no, that it was concerned on Earth, and Plato used to aim high, to look at the sky, and even he to try to understand what are the stars, what are the cosmos, etc. So we are also talking about that. But most of all, our philosophy is a concrete philosophy. We are discussing the future and the immediate future, the present of our civilization, and what we should do, and what we have to learn from the past and to apply to the future. We have to learn about utopias of the past that failed because they were confined within the boundaries of a closed world.
Yes.
While a modern utopia have the possibility to succeed, to create a full inclusive society, because it will be based on the enormous abundance of resources of our solar system.
Yes.
So this is the most important concept to be communicated, that we have the possibility to give to all the 8 billion, now officially 8 billion, because in these days, United Nations communicated that we passed the threshold of 8 billion Earth citizen, the right to have a future for them and for their children.
Yes.
To have a better future, a future better than our present.
Yes.
That is something that in the current closed world is very far from being a reality, because we are already having a present that is worse than 30, 40, 50 years ago.
Yeah. Yes.
And our children are in a nightmare, because we don't know if they will have work, if they have a possibility to make a family, to earn their living, and to apply what they learn in school.
Yes.
So, not to talk about the poor people that are experimenting war.
Yes. Yeah. Of course. Yes. And
without water, without electricity, without warming, something that we thought it was nowadays discounted. No, in Europe we have all of these things. It's not possible to deny. But yeah, they have the war now, and they have missiles and bombs and all these kind of things. So what is the future?
Yes. And I think also, obviously, that brings in, the political issues, doesn't it? That shows how, politics and can really regress human society, can push us back into, I don't know, it can in a way devolve us, in a way, because we kind of have to go back to our basic instincts of just trying to survive rather than actually thriving, because resources are being depleted through war or something like that. So it makes us go backwards in our progression. That actually touches on something that I've been thinking about, which is the sort of politicization of space exploration, which is, of course, taking place. I wanted to get your view on that, how you view sort of China and what's going on in China and their sort of role in space exploration. Do you think that threatens space exploration when you have a government like the Chinese government that, I don't know, doesn't respect sort of human rights in that way, and even the Russian government as well? Does that threaten space exploration? Because we want a government like the Chinese government that is obviously has its eyes set on space. It wants to progress in its space exploration program. You know, what is the future going to be for in space if we have a government like that is very dominant and has a lot of power? You know, that's just something I've been thinking about, especially regarding the human rights aspect, because otherwise we're going to take our problems with us, aren't we? We're going to take these same issues to another planet, and that sort of defies the purpose of the space exploration.
Just yesterday, during a small marathon that we made, almost 5 hours of trying to fundraise money for space renaissance, we showed again a lecture given by Alberto Cavallo a couple of months ago on astropolitics.
Yeah.
And it was very interesting. In the last slide, he posed some questions, and he say, nowadays, the main governments of planet Earth understood the value of space.
Yes.
They are moving to the moon, they are moving, but they are moving in order to conquer more power. Because, of course, the first power that will conquer the Lagrange points or the lunar poles.
Yes.
The lunar poles are the only places on the moon where there is a sunlight.
Yes.
And so the energy, possibility to take energy from the sun, and several other things, and water too. So the first one that go there and put the flag, we have signed a very important mark, an important point that we are here, and this is, and then the outer space treaty will be obsolete, of course, because as soon as they go there, the outer space treaty will be trash.
Yes. Yeah.
However, okay, so this is a possible way that humanity will start to expand.
Yes.
Outside. The other way, the second possible way, will be that some enlightened political leader understand the importance of expanding in civilization into space, and will do it in a more, let's say, in a more humanist way.
Yes.
Taking care of the right of the civil rights, taking care of the outer space treaty too, and so doing things in another way, not in a military hard way, but in a more discussed maybe, and so on. So yes, seeing from the point of view, from a philosophical point of view, very large, we could say that should the only way to go be the number one, so because of military decision and powers that will go there, then it will be better than not to go, because that would be the continuation of the history, because as we said before, the history is Alessandro Magno and Giulio Cesare and Genghis Khan, people that conquered and expanded and so on. So should we still go in that way? Okay, it's better than not to go, because if we don't go, the risk is very much higher. The risk is that we will kill each other in the closed world without any progress.
Yeah.
With a regression. If we will go outside, whatever the mean and the strategy in the mind, it will be better. Okay, but we, as a Space Renaissance International, we are a philosophical association and we are a humanist association. We will try to work for 100% inclusivity.
Yes.
In the process. So we will try to make so that the emerging countries could benefit as well as the advanced countries from the expansion. So thinking about Africa, thinking about Asiatic regions to South of America, well, yes. South I mean, the less developed country that be equally interested and benefit by this process. So yes, we are at the end of the yesterday meeting. I was discussing with Marie-Louise Oyser, Dr. Marie-Louise Oyser, about these points, and we concurred that this is one of the reasons why Space Renaissance exists.
Yes,
because we have to. We are humanists, and we are seeing that space is needed by humanity, and we should try to make the civilization expansion into space as an inclusive process.
Yes.
And we also have to discuss a little bit the concept of exploration versus settlement, because there is a change of paradigm in course. And yes, there is a double valence, a double value of this word exploration, because when we talk about exploration, of course, we are soliciting curiosity, we are soliciting adventure, we are soliciting several positive attitudes of the human spirit, of course.
Yeah.
But we are not in the same time communicating the need of expanding. Right. Because if it is only because I want to satisfy my adventure desire, no, or my desire to have fun, because exploring is so fun for a certain type of people, for the explorers. Because then I will tell you something about the variety of the human characteristics. However, if I only take care of these that are, let me say, some kind of children attitudes.
Yes, I understand. Yes, yeah.
To play, to be happy.
Serious than that.
Then people can say, "But are you crazy? Don't you see what is our situation now? We had COVID, we have wars now, we have a bad situation everywhere, we have crazy governments, no?" Also, yes, this is another symptom of what I call the syndrome of the closed world, no? That people is desperate and start to vote strange things, no? Because they say, okay, let's try, no?
Is it because they're scared?
We voted apparently reasonable people, and we are in the shit. So let's try to vote the crazy and see what happens. So it is so. The people that doesn't make very profound reflections. They want to change. Okay, so we also need to talk about expansion and about settlement, because what we need is a change of paradigm, because the requirements for space settlement are quite different. I mean, talking about mission requirements. No?
Yes. Yeah.
quite different from the exploration requirement.
Yes.
Exploration can, now if we think about going to Mars, it will take 2 years. Therefore, the mission will take 2 years. Therefore, it's a bit different from exploration made in our neighbors, no, in the cislunar space and so on. However, usually so far, exploration missions on the space station, or even on the moon, are resolved in short time. So people stayed on the space station for 6 months normally.
Yes.
Apart from Scott Kelly that remained for 1 year, and maybe another Russian guy that stayed on the Mir for 1 year and more, many years ago. So they only take a certain amount of space radiation, of cosmic radiations.
Right.
They don't take too much. Then they remain in zero gravity for 6 months. Therefore, they have damages, but not so important. Okay. When we talk about space tourism is a midway between exploration and settlement.
Yes.
Even for tourist purpose, you will remain in space for 1 month, maybe. Yes. You go to a moon hotel, for instance, you stay 1 month and come back. You go to the space station, we go to an orbital hotel, and you stay no more than some months, let's say. So the requirements are, however, different from the exploration requirements, because the requirements for exploration take into account that exploration is made by military trained astronauts.
Yes.
So they are trained to bear strong accelerations, more than 5G. They are trained to make workout in zero gravity with machines in order not to lose too much the bones and muscles and all these kind of things. So we're talking about a military attitude. If we think about civilians, tourists, is quite another dimension. Okay, tourism want to have fun, want to be. A tourist doesn't want to make scientific experiments.
Yeah.
To see the panorama, to watch Earth, having the overview effect, to watch outside, understanding how much it is big, the space and the universe, these kind of things. So it's tourism is a wider dimension, no?
Yes.
A more philosophical dimension too, no?
Yes. Yeah. Of course.
As a tourist, you go there and you have time to think and to be astonished. What you see and what you experiment and so on. So for providing vehicles and habitats for tourists is quite different than providing an orbiting laboratory like the space station is.
Yes.
You have to think about ergonomics, you have to think about comfortability, you have to think about several things that normally the hotel on Earth think about, and the airline, the civilian airlines think about.
Yeah.
Okay, so tourism. Then, if we think about going there and work there and live there, this is still another class of requirements.
Yes.
Because you have to be fully protected from cosmic radiation. You have to have a simulated gravity.
Yes.
If you are working on the moon, you shouldn't stay always on the moon for 3-4 years, because otherwise your physiology will change and you cannot come back to Earth because you are on a wheelchair. Okay, so you have to think about having working shifts on the moon surface, and maybe habitats in the Lagrange points rotating with simulated gravity.
Yes.
Or some combined system, no?
Yes.
Where you can have earthly conditions to live.
Yes.
And maybe to stay 2-3 weeks for your work shift on the moon surface, or on the asteroids to make asteroid mining, and so on. So this is still another class of requirements. So we have to think about all of these things, because all of these things then need specific scientific work in order to overcome the problems. Protecting from radiation is a scientific issue to be resolved. With the shields, with putting materials, or creating an electromagnetic shield, or combination of all these things. And so the gravity, simulated gravity, it would mean to take the designs made by Gerard O'Neill and start working on that, because it was written and designed in 1970s. Yeah. So, I think in our lexicon, we have to start talking more about settlement and expansion and industrialization. It doesn't mean that we will not need exploration anymore. We will need this. We will always need exploration.
Yeah.
Because when we have consolidate, let me say, the cislunar space, the so-called greater Earth, 3 kilometers, then we still need to explore outside.
Of course.
Yes. To the asteroid belt, to the Jupiter moons, and so on. So exploration will never die, but it will die if we don't start expanding.
Yes.
Because there will be any more money, there will be any more powers, substances, and so on. Yeah. Therefore, in order to survive, space exploration need space expansion and industrialization. Yeah. Definitely. They are not opposing each other. They are mutually sustaining each other, exploration and settlement. But if we keep on only talking about exploration and the settlement will not start, then exploration will die.
Yes.
Together with all the other economical activities on Earth. So, yeah, we have to try to, how can I say, to awake the perception of the people on these points. That's a very, very important to understand.
Yeah, I think it definitely comes with education. Hopefully, the generations. Not everyone's going to be interested in space. I come across people who can't understand why I'm so interested in it, which is so strange to me, why they're not interested. They just don't get it. They're just more interested in down here on Earth, the ground. They don't want to go up to space. They don't want to leave the sort of little planet, the safety net, I suppose. I think some people are maybe fearful of what's in space. Maybe they're fearful of what might happen to them in space, or I think there's a lot of fear that's involved here when we're talking about people who maybe want to remain on Earth, or can't understand why we need to go into space, why it is not just a duty, but is essential to our survival as a species. There seems to be some kind of misconnection there, where people don't quite understand the necessity of space expansion, shall we say. I think one thing I wanted to ask you was, when you sort of get a chance to, when you've got 5 minutes, because I know you're so busy, but when you've got sort of 5 minutes to sort of look up at the stars and sort of wonder about the big questions, I suppose, do you sort of have like that feeling inside of sort of meaning to life and I suppose a connection maybe to outer space? Because I do. That's why I'm involved in this, because I felt that from quite a young age, really. I wanted to know whether you'd felt that and whether that was sort of the impetus for your hard work on space exploration, space expansion, and the work you do with the Space Renaissance. Is that what driving you? And also on top of that, when you've sort of, I don't know, maybe had a bad day, do you go and look at the stars and sort of get re-inspired by that, or do you read maybe Giordano's book or something? Because that's what I do. So I'm just wondering whether you're similar in that sense, whether it is actually outer space itself that is feeding your motivations. Is there some sort of connection there, as a humanist or even as however you identify? What do you think?
Yes, of course. Watching the star, watching the sky during the night and looking at the sky, the stars is always an astonishing thing, that you feel how we are small, no, and we are sitting on a small grain of sand in the universe that's so big and impossible to understand and to understand. Yeah, and normally when it happens to me, my mind immediately goes to think about the mystery of the universe.
Yes,
it is such a strange place. It's regulated by physical laws of gravitation and rotation, attraction, etc., etc. So strange, so difficult to understand how it can work all together, like a clock, no? Like yeah. And yeah, it is a feeling that I also cannot describe, to be honest. The only moment that I remember very well in my memory, it happened to me many years ago. It was the past century. I was even younger than now, and yes, and I was working. Of course, I was outside of my home, working in a transfer for my work, and it was a beautiful night in springtime, almost summer, and I was, or it was, well, I don't remember exactly. However, I remember that it was not so cold.
Yes, yeah.
So it was night. I was in a field, walking in a country road, and there was a field, and it was so nice that I decided to lie on my back on the grass, and looking at the sky.
Yes.
And in that moment, I saw the Orion arrow, the constellation, the Orion.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I don't know what, in that moment, I had a kind of epiphany, no?
Yes.
It was like if those stars were donated to me.
Yeah. Yes.
Really, I felt something that I cannot explain.
Yes.
And I wouldn't say that since that day my strong interest for space had begun. I couldn't say that because I always thought about space from when I was 15 or 16, thinking about social problems and so on. Because when I was 15 or 16, it was the 60s of the past century, So there was the revolution was coming, the 68 and all these kind of things.
Yeah.
So we had all of my generation, boys and girls, had very strange things in our head. Yeah. we were thinking out of the box, definitely.
Yes.
Or yes, I was very much interested by social problems, by later by political problems and so on. So my interest for space matured because I started to read science fiction.
Yes, of course. Yes.
And yeah, I still have more than 2,000 books of science fiction in my home. When I relocate, it's a nightmare because I have boxes because I love the paper books.
Yeah.
Yeah, and therefore, yes, this is the science fiction is part of my culture. Let me say, of my education, self-education, and so on.
Yeah.
And later, only later in the 90s, when I conceived a webzine called Technologies of the Frontier. I started to do that because I was in polemic with the Club of Rome, the Aurelio Peccei movement, the Club of Rome, the people who committed the MIT to write the limit to development, the limit of growth.
Right.
That book, yeah, in the 70s. So I was polemizing with those positions that thought that the limits, the planetary limits, were an invalicable limit, no uncrossable limit. And I started to think about the frontiers.
Yes. Yeah.
Frontiers with the desert, frontiers with the sea, and frontier and the main frontier, space.
Yeah.
So during the 90s, I started to conceptualize my idea of expanding civilization into space and so on.
Yeah.
So I couldn't say yeah, no, I couldn't deny some part of, let me say, mystical experience, or yes, but my elaboration was most of all, let me say, scientifical and pointed to the concrete conditions and availabilities and all this kind, and social and economical. I always try to have an holistic view, including social conditions, economical conditions, environmental conditions, everything. Because one thing that drives me crazy is to see how the people conceive each one of these compartments as a separated one each other.
Right.
So when they talk about economy, they only talk about economy. When they talk about environment, they only talk about environment, and doesn't understand that they are saying contradictory things.
Yes. Yeah.
So, yeah, no, okay. So the answer is yes. I feel this sense of mystery and of exciting.
Yeah.
Exciting feeling, the link to the cosmos, Yes, but I try to be driven by concrete studies and let me say, trying to aim high, keeping the feet on earth, something like that.
That's a good saying. That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just on my mind because I've actually just come back from a trip to Iceland recently, like the last few days, and it's fantastic there. I don't know if you've ever been to Iceland, but we saw the Northern Lights, and I've never seen the stars so bright. But we went out into sort of the wilderness area of Iceland near the glaciers, and we looked up at the stars at night, and they looked so close, like you could, touch them almost, and I'd never seen it like that before. And that just, again, made me sort of have that kind of feeling of connection. And there's something there, I think, between the human person and the stars that maybe other species on this planet don't have. If I took a dog up there and said, look up at the stars, it wouldn't have that same feeling like we do. There must be something different about us that we get that sort of I keep saying connection. Maybe it's not connection, maybe it's just that feeling of the unknown and wanting to understand it.
Yeah.
But other species don't have that, dogs and cats aren't interested in space. No, even some of our closest primates aren't interested. They don't seem to have that characteristic, that quality that the human being has, that is driving us. It seems to be, and to me, if you look, and I'm sure you've read many history books, it seems to always been there. It seems in, like when we talk about Giordano Bruno earlier on, he seems to have had that quality that he could envision the future. That to me, there was something in him that gave him that ability. Where did that come from? Yeah. That's the mystery, isn't it? How did he imagine that? And also people earlier on before him as well. What is within them? What is in their brain that, I don't know, they have this quality that they can really envision space and its possibilities very clearly. That's fascinating to me, because I think that's also, it's interesting as well, just also for when we actually go into outer space and expand and settle outer space, whether that will continue, whether we will have individuals, human beings in the future who also have this gift or also have this quality where they maybe can look at the stars from the perspective of Mars, for example, or from the perspective of a spacecraft. Will they think of new ideas that are so beyond what you and I can think of right now, and because they're in space themselves, so there is, to me there is a I don't know whether it's physical, metaphysical, or what, but there is, to me, a quality of human beings that distinguishes us.
Sure.
Species that is related to the stars, or is related to outer space, if you will.
Well, I think I will discuss this thing in 15 days, more or less, because I'm invited to the Terrazem conference by Giulio Prisco.
Yes.
So we will discuss with Frank White, the author of the overview effects. And yes, the overview effects was recently counterposed to the what is the name of that actor, the Captain Kirk of Star Trek, who has flown on the Blue Origin capsule a few months ago. William Shatner, could be.
Yes, possibly. Yes.
Yeah. That he said that looking at space, not to Earth but outside to the space, he had a feeling of of death. It was oppressed by the vacuum, the big vacuum.
Right. Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah,
and that was opposed by somebody to the concept of overview effect that you have, that many people have, looking at Earth. And understanding that's a small thing, and that we are so very much precarious, and so on. And so it will be very interesting to talk about that. And let me say that guy is an old guy, of course, 84, maybe 85. And it is also understandable that, yes, I know it is understandable because I'm 73, therefore I'm not, not very much distant from that age. And it could be also understandable that at that age, one could be, how can I say, tired, no? Existentially tired. And so even the mood and the curiosity and all these kind of feelings could be lower, and okay, even not thinking about the characteristics of that guy, we could say that for sure, to be frightened, to be scared by the emptiness of space, it could be a feeling when we are outside and looking outside.
Yeah.
So I cannot say what it will be because I never was there. Yeah. What I think is that, however, when staying there, maybe not for few days, but for a long time,
yes,
our mind will find other dimensions. We will start thinking in 3D.
Yes. Yeah.
Now we are thinking flat on the bottom of the gravitational well. When we be outside, we will think in 3D, in a globular way. And I can only imagine that, first of all, a big sensation, a big feeling of freedom, will
overwhelm us.
Yes, because you can move in all not only 360 degrees, but in a volumetric 360. So 360 cubic degrees.
Yeah. No? Yes.
And that, I think that would be amazing.
Yes.
It would be, I don't know if in my life I will experiment that thing, but okay, we can only imagine. We cannot say how it is.
That's why we need space philosophy, I think. That's why we need that, for more recognition for space philosophy, because space philosophy can be that, the bag, or if you will, I'm going to use the analogy of a kind of bag, and we put all these ideas into that, and it can carry everything, and it can even opposing ideas, we need that, I think, that can encompass all of these contrasting beliefs, ideas. It's important. Yeah.
Our cultural luggage.
Yes. Yes, that's right. Yes. In the same way that religion, as a word, is used to encompass God and all sorts of ideas about who God is, what God does. Space philosophy can be that for space exploration, space expansion, and all the ideas that are related to space, essentially outer space. One thing I just, because I know we've not got that much time left, but one thing I wanted to just ask you about was this idea. I'm not sure if we spoke about this last time, but about salvation, because it's an interesting word to me. It is a word that I have come to very much associate with space exploration, space expansion in my own mind, and also I have integrated it with my astronism philosophy. Now, space salvation, of course, it's a Christian idea, but also a broader religious idea of being saved, of being maybe redeemed. What do I mean, I have my own idea of what this could be, which I call transcension, which is the idea that humanity's expansion into outer space will transcend every part of us, of our limited selves. We are limited beings in our mind, in our body. Like you were saying earlier, you know, we can only think on the 2D level because we are gravitated to the ground. We can't move from this ground at this moment. So to me, I associate that with this salvation idea, and it also go back to as well the idea of having a vision, which we were talking about earlier. And to me, I think salvation is really important to that establishing this vision for space expansion, because it's about saving humanity. It's about saving humanity from what you were talking about earlier, which is the extinction of our species if we do not go, if we decide to stay here, which is an option. I always say that to people when I'm speaking about space expansion. I say, listen, if you think we should stay here, fine, but there will be consequences for that. And so then I talk about those and how there's only a limited amount of resources, and extinction, of course, will take place, etc., etc. So to me, I've begun to sort of view space expansion in this sort of salvation idea, because I think that's what it is. I think it's humanity. I think space expansion is humanity saving ourselves. We don't necessarily need. I mean, you can believe in God. You don't need to believe in God. At the same time, it's up to you. But I think it's humanity saving itself, whether God exists or not. Well, I mean, some people have said that God is inspiring us to go to outer space. I mean, I've thought about that idea. You know, is God behind us? Does he want us to go into outer space? And all sorts of ideas in that realm.
Because we are not all the same. We are not all the same. For someone, God was a moving factor.
Yes.
Someone else, God was a resignation. You know.
Yeah.
God should think about me. I am not okay. But let's think about Giordano Bruno. He was a priest. So God, for him, I think, was an engine. Moving. And poor guy, he was buried by the church. Therefore, okay. However, for the heritage, for the what he left to us, it was very important. I think is concept of God, whatever it was. And myself, I wrote a concept in my book. This book, Greater World is Possible. I wrote a sentence that says salvation will be for everybody or it will not be.
Yes. Yeah.
I think humanity, and this is about the human value, the human patrimony value that we didn't talk today, but maybe we will talk another next conversation. The number that we have is very important.
Yes.
Because 8 billion of intelligent beings are an enormous platform of knowledge, of possible science development, possible technological, cultural development, and so on. The number is important.
Yeah.
Because the more we are, the bigger is the nursery of good ideas.
Yes.
So, if we only will save, let's say, a 10% of our big patrimony, that will not be enough.
No.
It will not be enough. We need to save all of our 8 billion citizens,
Yes.
because each one is important for the continuation of our culture.
Yes.
That's why I wrote "Salvation will be for everybody, or it will not be."
Yes.
So it is a paraphrase of
Yes.
the surrealist,
Yes. Yeah.
right, André Breton, when
Yes.
the revolution will be so and so, or it will not be.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. And so I said salvation will be for everybody, or it will. and there are 8 billion of reasons for that.
Yes.
Yes. In another conversation, we'll tell you why we are so different. And why this is our richness.
Say now. What is it? Tell me. We've got time.
It cannot be said in few words. Just let me mention Stephen Wolf.
Yes, of course. Yes.
A beautiful book named The Obligation,
Yes.
where he defined 7 or 8 types of human attitudes: the explorer, the settler, the designer, the protector, and so on.
Yeah.
All different. And let me also mention Howard Gardner.
Yes.
Classified 9 different types of intelligence:
Yes.
linguistic, mathematical, imaginative, imagine pictures, and so on. Okay, I'm telling you in very few words. I can develop this concept. However, think about putting the Stephen Wolf classification together with the Howard Gardner classification in a bidimensional matrix.
Yes.
Already we will get some million possible combinations.
Yes.
And then if you add another vector, that is the geographical localization,
Yes.
you really will get billions of different characters.
Yes.
So you understand why each human being is unique.
Yes.
With his capacity, attitudes, hopes, design, and feelings.
Yes.
An explorer, you cannot close an explorer in a cage, because he will die.
Yes.
By the way, you cannot pretend that a protector, for instance, a settler, a designer, you cannot oblige him to explore.
Yes.
Because he doesn't like it.
Yes.
And the important thing is to make people to understand that all of these attitudes are legitimate and needed.
Yes.
So this is the value of our diversity and the combination, and why salvation must be for everybody, or it will not be.
Yes.
Because we cannot lose any of these combinations of attitudes and psychological feeling.
Yes.
You cannot oblige a mathematician to write. Well, maybe it's not an absolute. No, you cannot. You cannot oblige a mathematician to write poetry. Maybe someone does it. So I don't know. But however, I think you cannot say, okay, this is the way, no, and all the rest should adapt themselves. Even during the COVID, for instance, the COVID lockdown, many people were not bearing to remain closed at home.
Yeah.
Because these people feel very much more the curiosity to go outside, to explore, to see people, and so on. And some other people were not oppressed by that, because they feel well inside their closed environment, because they have different attitudes.
Yes.
Not that one is correct and the other is wrong. wrong.
Yeah.
No, they are different. We have to understand this.
Yeah.
Otherwise we are,
It's like what I was saying before, isn't it? About how when I'm speaking to different individuals about outer space, space philosophy, some just can't sort of understand why space exploration is sort of they're scared of it in a way. They're maybe not interested in it. I have come across people who are just not interested in space. They don't want to know about it. They're not interested. They want to think about other things, maybe I don't know, things down on the earth, on the ground. So maybe I should think about that a bit more and take your advice to be a bit more accepting, because sometimes I want to get them to see why it's important, but maybe I should take wise words and kind of accept that they
the only very wrong thing is when one attitude try to impose on you to the rest. So there are people that are not interested to expand civilization. They are not interested to go outside and so on. Yes, you are free. Even when humanity will start expanding, you are not obliged to go.
No.
Stay here. Of course, we don't want to abandon Earth. We keep on living on Earth. Yes, but for sure you cannot prevent other people who cares about to go and to expand and to make a civilization to continue. So this is what I feel it is unbearable in the propaganda of certain environmentalists that say no, we don't need the space, why we have to go to space and so on. So I'm discussing with these people not to say you are wrong and I am right. No, I know that I am wrong for you, but please let me be wrong. Because it's my attitude. I want to go. Let me go. Don't try to make laws that prevent me to go. That's the point.
Yes, definitely.
Okay. I don't know how much time did you reserve it to.
Oh, that's fine. It's been great to speak with you, and I'm glad we ended on that. It's very wise words. So everyone who's going to be listening to this, maybe take that and carry on with that in your lives, and maybe try to apply that to your own lives. I will as well. So we'll see how we go. Thank you, Adriano, for speaking to me again. Please come back again and we can talk more about the human patrimony idea and also some other ideas as well that I didn't quite get to today. But I'm sure we'll speak again. And but thanks for coming today, and I hope you enjoyed it too.
Thank you very much for inviting me.
Thanks very much. Goodbye. Thank you, and goodbye, everyone.